Party Bus Volume 2. So one of the main things that I said that we wanted to be able to address is we wanted to keep all the wiring really neat and clean. We wanted it easily serviceable, and so what we did before we started putting walls in the bus is we made a color chart. We said, we're going to need this, we're going to need this, we're going to have LED lighting, we're going to have the USB chargers, we're going to have power for all these different devices. So what we did is we mapped out the bus, and we took posts, and we taped posts essentially to the floor of our shop, and we pre-ran harnesses. We pre-made harnesses to pull through the ceiling and to pull through the seats and everything, so that everything was pre-made, color-coded. We had a color chart for what was going on. Through that, we ran all of our RGBW color-changing light wires. We ran our charging ports for all the USBs. We ran our power cords for all the lighting amplifiers, and all these different components. We knew we needed ignition sources from the front to the rear. We also pulled extra wires so that if something broke or serviced or had a problem, then we wanted to add something, then we didn't have to run new wiring through the bus. And then we ran all of our RCAs, and we used DD Audio has some really cool build-yourself RCAs. Our RCA run was something like 30 foot, and going from the front of the bus over the door, through the ceiling, back down the wall. It's a long extension, and the standard lengths in car audio is 17 foot. Well, you can do two 17s, and you can join them with barrel connectors. But the last thing I wanted was a barrel connector to come undone through the ceiling after we've already run all this stuff, because it's going to be somewhere in the most inconvenient place that we would have to get to if it became an issue. We started at the beginning with the game plan and had to sit and work our way through all the structure and all the different systems in order to get all of this built out. I knew I wanted a bunch of lighting, period. One of the main goals that Don had was, I want people when they step in here to go, wow. Cool. So I knew what we wanted, and it's a party bus. You have to have a lot of lighting, but I didn't want a bunch of disco balls and rope lights scattered throughout. I wanted it to look tasteful and clean, professional. So since we were running 250 feet of lights, the lighting controller that we were using, it's not going to be able to supply that much power. And I'd run into this before where we had to do lighting amplifiers. We did a lighting project on a local bar a long time ago. And I knew that because of excessive lengths that the controller will run out of current and it won't be able to do it. So what we had to do was daisy chain and install a ton of lighting amplifiers throughout the bus. I think we have 7 lighting controllers. So the RGB controller goes to the amplifier, and then the amplifier goes off to the lights, but it also feeds the signal for the next amplifier. One of the other cool features is we made kind of a little command center for the front. We wanted the driver to be pretty much left alone, but still part of the party, if that makes sense. We didn't want too many distractions. We wanted the people in the back to be able to do their own thing. On the bar, we made a command center. I already told you we had the television, and with the television, we have a Blu-ray player because kids' movies, But we also have an Apple TV. They're an Apple family, so this way everything works together, and they can cast off their phone. They can do their phone as a hotspot, and they can stream straight off of it. It's a smart TV, so it's paired to their phones now. On the command center, we have the switches to turn the water pumps on, to turn the dome light on, but also for all the lighting. One of the things we wanted was easy access for control of the lights. We wanted the passengers to be able to deal with all of that stuff instead of having to get the driver involved. In cars, typically we're dealing with RGB lighting, which is red, green, blue. So that's your typical color changing lights. In the home side, they've had RGBW for a very long time. So you still have your red, green, blue. The W is a dedicated fourth LED light that is just white. So instead of it lighting up the red, green, and blue for a white, which typically has kind of a bluish tint, it never really looks that good, this way we have a dedicated white. And what I liked about the controller is, you can pick whatever color you want. You can have it go through different cycles and stuff where it changes colors and schemes, but you hit a button and it all goes straight to white, and it lights up that whole place, and you can see what you're doing. So that gave us access for the customer to do it, instead of what we normally do on cars is you have either remote control that's going to get lost, or you have a Bluetooth app. And we didn't want people having to get on the bus every time and have to pair their phone and find the devices and control it through the phone, and how do you use this, you know. So the wall control was really easy, really straightforward, and it made it so that the people in the back had control over kind of the fun mode. Now we had to start working about cosmetics and making things pretty and figuring out what we wanted to do. And the biggest thing I couldn't come up with was, I have this giant closet wall that's on the back of the seats, on the back of the bus, and when you enter the bus, it's the first thing you see. And what did I want to do on there that would look good but not be something that somebody could damage or, you know, mess with easily? So I had the idea to take the graphics off the outside of the bus. The CNC has a function called V-Carve, and that comes with the software that we use. Instead of having a line where a 90-degree bit draws just a straight line, it takes two lines and it changes the depth off of how much it cuts based off of the width of those two lines. So I drew all that stuff out and used the V-Carve function to do a very detailed drawing on the back, or carving on the back wall. It looked freaking cool. Well, now I had to freaking upholster the sucker. I've been doing vinyl work and vinyl upholstery stuff on enclosures for a long time, but if it was really involved stretching or contouring, then I always had some hurdles. A friend who has a stereo shop that teaches, and he said one simple thing about doing upholstery, and it just blew my mind. So using those tricks on doing the vinyl work, I was able to wrap that entire back wall in one take. It took probably about an hour and a half to get everything worked and stretched into the places where it needed to be. That panel is, I think it's 48 by 72. So that's a big piece of vinyl to have all glued up all at once. And that's a whole big piece of vinyl to be holding up out of the way and working into all those grooves. But it came out looking fantastic. And especially once you get the lights on it, it looks really fantastic. Just as an example about how this whole bus is built, holding all the trim work on that back wall, there's only something like 6 screws. All of that trim work is held in place with dowels. The whole piece comes apart and goes together like a jigsaw puzzle. So it's just layers on layers on layers. It was all built and designed in CAD. So if something gets damaged, it's easy to take one piece off, rebuild it, reupholster it, and swap it all right back out. Once we got the theme figured out, then it was real easy to spread that out and scatter it throughout the rest of the bus. So we did that same paneling and the same carving on the walls behind up next to the stairway and behind the driver's wall. And then we had to make the panels that go down by your feet, so the kick panels. One thing we surprised him with is we put a built-in vacuum system into the truck. So we took a shop vac, put it in the back. We already had a big 110 system in order to run the air conditioner and the bar and the TV and all that stuff. I took a automatic blast gate for a house. I glued a magnet inside of it and took a magnetic reed switch, put it on the back of it. So when you open the door, it makes the magnet break contact. Then that goes back to our hub in the back, and that takes a traditional automotive relay, and we're looping 110 electricity through that. So when you open that door, it makes a shop vac in the back kick on. All the hoses and stuff are kept under the seat. You can plug your hose in, you can sit here and vacuum up, get rid of the goldfish crumbs and, you know, dirt and muck and other stuff, and now you have a clean bus to be working and living in again. If y'all have questions, like I said, hit us in the comments, give us a shout, find us on Facebook, on Instagram, call the shop, shoot me an email. All the information's at the end. Thanks, guys.